Welcome back, players. I'm Jack with 36 Cancel, and this is Coco the Wise Cat. So everyone knows Fate Grand Order is all about them waifus, in particular Eggplant Kohai, or as she's known in more polite company, Mash Kirillite. And while she does make a showing here, this deck that we're going to take a look at today is mostly about the other popular waifus in FGO, namely the Rin faces, Ereshkigal and Ishtar. After all, people love how defenseless Rin can be at times, but that's right, it's time to tech the Fate Babylonia standby deck featuring the two goddess sisters. Now, Babylonia has a lot of compelling reasons to run the standby combo. Not only does it have very strong targets, but the set also packs a level 1 advantage combo tied to the standby climax. But that's not the only thing good about the deck. It also packs a strong level 0 toolbox, a lot of ways to compress, and heavy hitting finishers that greatly benefit from our standby package. So without further ado, let's take a look at it. There are a few predictable elements here. First, the deck is pretty top heavy with a strong focus on the mid and end game, and while the level 0 has some focus cards, the rest is very toolboxy, so that's where we'll start. We've got some strong openers, some good tech, and some clutch one-ofs. Let's open with the 4 of No Buts Ishtar. At 1500, she's a coin flip, meaning at the start of your opponent's draw phase, you reveal the top card of your deck. If this card is level 1 or higher, then No Buts Ishtar returns to your hand. Coin flips are strong since not only do they deny your opponent reverses and open up your stage, but they can also convert back from an attacker into fuel for your hand. It comes from the idea that if you're running 17 zeros, which is around average, and 8 climaxes, which is in every deck ever, 25 cards in your deck will be hits and 25 will be misses. And since No Buts Ishtar is already on the field, statistics say that she has a very decent chance of hitting, especially since our standby deck is a bit top heavy. So coin flips already make for good level 0 options, but No Buts Ishtar has a second ability. You can pay 1 and put her from the stage to the waiting room. If you do, look it up to 4 cards from the top of your deck, and then choose up to 1 character among them and put it into your hand. Then put the rest into your waiting room. Now this is a super strong ability because when she bounces to your hand, she can turn into a filtering tool after serving as an attacker, and this is the same should you draw her anytime after level 0. Not only is she a strong level 0 character, but she holds value for us throughout the game, and you can't really ask for more than that. Anyway, No Buts Ishtar is great and all, but we need to move on. Right to another Ishtar from the trial deck, Goddess of Fertility and War, Ishtar. She's a 2k free runner with no other text. But you don't really need much else as 2k free runners are standard but strong. And when combined with coin flips, you can really start doing some strong stage antics at 0. Now moving right along, let's look at the other side of the goddess coin, Acquiring Freedom Ereshkigal. She has 2 on-play abilities. First, you mill the top 2 cards and she gets plus X power where X's character is milled this way times 1000. Then you can pay 1 stock and clock yourself from the top of your deck. If you do, search out a character from your deck and add it to your hand. Now, 2 things here. First, she's a clock searcher at 0 that also becomes a striker, which is fantastic. And second, the search clause on cards like this usually limits you in some way, mainly getting level 1 or lower cards, but Ereshkigal doesn't, meaning that if you draw her on your final turn and you need another finisher, she can deliver. This is sweet, both in terms of power and flexibility. It's not like we wouldn't want to run a clock searcher anyway, and this one just delivers more. Now we've gone over a lot of the main body at level 0, so let's move on to the tech. We have a few one-ofs here, so we'll start with Enticing Words Fujimaru. He's a drop searcher that also lets you top check the top or bottom on play. So he's a clone of Earthmother's disciple priestess from Goblin Slayer. This is a good drop searcher and a solid one-of, no need to say more about this. Next, to pair with Fujimaru, we have Firm Courage Mash. She may only be 1k, but on your opponent's turn, if you have another character for Mash to shield, she gets plus 3k power, making her a solid defender. Further, on play, if you pitch a climax, you can salvage a character. Mash delivers stage presence, a discard outlet, and salvaging options. Again, a solid one-of. And the last one of those we have is Fused Consciousness Ishtar. And Fused is right, because she's got 2 very different abilities. First off, she's a level 0 suicider, but she's also a repeatable salvage and pitch brainstormer. So front row or back row, early threats, or late game digging, Ishtar delivers a lot in 1 card. And finally at level 0, no deck is complete without a primary brainstormer, and it's good old reliable Eggplant Kohai. Towards the final Singularity Mash gives your center middle character plus 500 power, and she's a tap self-searching brainstormer. It's a tried and true profile and a solid way to cap out the level 0 game. So Babylonia delivers a strong set of options for us in the early game. That said, let's have a look at the level 1. And would you look at all these goddesses, this lineup features a level 1 combo, wall and standby options, tech reversers, and even good backups. Let's start with that standby combo. The Mistress of the Underworld Ishtar is a 4500 level 1 with 2 abilities. First, when she attacks, if you have another character, she gets plus 1500 power. And then there's her Climax combo, which if you have together with Bloom Flowers in the Underworld, the standby Climax, in your Climax zone, she gets an on-reverse salvage ability where you mill the top 2 and salvage an X or lower character where X is the combined level of the milled cards. Now, it's pretty powerful that we have a level 1 that's a straight advantage combo with standby because that already delivers a lot. However, you'll notice the big drawback is her power. Since standby climaxes add no solar power, you sacrifice tempo and you're trying to reverse targets on 6k, which, let's face it, isn't a lot. The real point is that the fact that you can gain advantage at all through a standby combo is nuts, even if the reliability isn't amazing. But of course, standby wouldn't be as amazing without good targets, and Ereshkigal also happens to be our first real standby hit. Bringing the underworld beneath Uruk, Ereshkigal is a 1/1 5500 that gets plus 2k power if you have 2 or more characters that also has Hand Encore. The 1/1 7500 with some form of Hand Encore is an absolute staple of standby. It's tough to get rid of, stands higher than a lot of combos, and in general is just a powerful piece to put on the stage when you hit those early triggers. We run 3 of her to keep the wall option available to us at level 1. No surprise to see her here, so let's go back to the flip side, Ishtar. Reassuring ally Ishtar has 2 functions. On play, she's a pitch climax character salvage, and on reverse, she's a level 1 reverser. Again, Ishtar is bringing us multifaceted filtering and functionality here. It broadens our options to deal with different level 1 threats, and the discard outlet and waiting room access are tough to argue with. It's a great toolbox addition. Now lastly at level 1, we actually have the goddess Quetzalcoatl in green. She's a 1/1 1500 backup, and when you use it, you reveal the top card of your deck. If it's a character, you add it to your hand and then pitch a card. This has a few upsides for us. First, protecting our beefy standby targets. Second, allowing us to pay out climaxes in the process. And third, top checking for that extra chance of canceling. Pros love these top checking backups, and it's easy to see why. So that closes out the level 1. It's absolutely full of options, advantage, and functionality, but since we're playing a standby deck, level 2 is where things start to get spicy. Looking at this lineup, we have 2 targets and 1 backup. Let's have a look at the card we're putting on the stage behind those Ereshkigals. The one who has seen everything, Gilgamesh, is your 2/2 with 2 soul standby choice. At base 6500, he gets plus 1k for each other character, and when he direct attacks, you can choose a character in your waiting room and put it into your stock. Of all the iterations of this ability, Gilgamesh is pretty damn strong. You can just stuff level 0s in your stock you never want to see again, not only helping to compress you, but also build resources. And with the standby and board presence game, you're bound to have empty lanes to attack into. There are some prime level 2 targets in Babylonia to stand by at level 1, even one in the rare slot, but Gilgamesh is the easy superior choice. Now we've also got 2 1-ofs. We're packing a 1-of secondary standby target, Steady Accumulation, Ereshkigal. She's a global 1k assist, and you can rest her to give someone else another 1k. I like this for the matchups where powers can get too close for comfort, and she can also push your level 1 combo into reverse range if you stand by her behind the small Ereshkigals. For what she brings to the table, we can definitely afford a 1-of slot for her. That leaves Da Vinci here with a 2/1 pitch 2 anti-change backup. It's another good way to protect your juicy standby targets, and since one of the best ways to answer standby is with good early plays, strategic use of this backup can lead to some blowout turns. And so ends the level 2. Because honestly, the main focus of this deck is the top end, and as you can see, we're quite top heavy. There's a lot to talk about here, but no standby deck will be complete without solid early plays to complement our existing targets, so let's start with the ever-reliable Mash Kirillite. Shared Journey Mash gets -1 level if you have 2 or less climaxes in your waiting room. At 9k, she gets an additional plus 1k for each other character in your back row, and finally, on play, you can pitch a card and heal to stock. Now, normally with stock healing profiles that also have good early play conditions, you have to sacrifice a little power. Not so with Mash, who sits at a minimum 11k on both turns if your back row is full, which in this deck it absolutely should be, so Mash, already having a solid profile, delivers more. We're also packing another early play, firing a shot at a god Ishtar. She's a 4 or more early play that top checks X on play, where X is characters, which, you know, if you're refilling the condition, is just top check 5. Now, since she has no other power boosts or desirable effects, it's pretty obvious what she's here for, and that's digging for a climax just in case we need it. Again, it's an option we can afford as a 1-of. At worst, she's a 2-soul early play beater that self-replaces. Now this ends the early plays, but not the 1-of techs. As another level 3 1-of, we have Grandcaster Merlin. He's a back row that gives all your other characters plus 1500, heals on play, and when you play him or another character, you can look at the top card of your deck. Now, I won't lie, this card is no Attack and Waves Asana or Resisting Fate Armin. As far as back row level 3s go, he's not amazing, certainly not what you'd expect of Merlin based on his actual character or in-game performance, but he does deliver 2 nice things for us that we sometimes need, which are power and healing. The global 1500 can definitely put your already large standby targets totally out of reach, and almost every level 3 in the deck heals, as we'll see later. So as a 1-of, just in case we hit a trigger where standing him by would be particularly juicy, he's in here. Besides, how can we build a Babylonia deck without the Vagabond of Avalon himself? Anyway, that's all she wrote for support level 3s. Now let's move on to the finishers. This brings us to our secondary finisher and the last 1-of, King Who Leads the People, Gilgamesh. At 9k, if your deck is legal to play, he gets plus 2k. On play, you can search your deck for a character, and he's a climax-free pitch 2 character clock kick on anyone's turn. This is a really nice secondary finisher for us. He replaces himself to support the clock kick ability, sits at 11k, and digs out pieces for us. As a 1-of secondary, there's really not much else we could ask for, and there's good reason to run him. Moving right along to the primary finisher though, this is where things get heavy. Wrap your head around this profile. Goddess who rules over Venus, Ishtar. 9k, gets 500 for each other character, so also 11k. On play, she's also a healer, and this is where our finishing climax combo lives. When this card attacks, if Final Battle with Mother, a gate climaxes in your climax zone, you can pay 2 and pitch 2 cards. If you do, choose up to 2 cards in your opponent's waiting room, return them to their deck, shuffle their deck, and then deal 4 damage, and then of course proceed with your attack. So this is an overstated, healing, burning, decompressing finisher that hits like an absolute unit. It's brutal. 4 damage sure sounds a lot scarier when you consider the decompression aspect of the combo. And she heals you, and she sits at 11k, and by the way, we're running standby to support her. Ishtar is the omega and final finisher for this deck and caps out our list and our game plan. Now this list has a lot going on. A very versatile and powerful 0, a combo and wall option at level 1, early plays and standby targets at 2, and an expensive but punishing finisher with options at 3. So how do we pilot this thing? Well, let's begin at the bottom. Standby is our gas, so discard aggressively for it, and to get as many good targets in the waiting room ASAP. Use your coin flips and runners to conserve hand and keep the stage favorable for you. If your opponent tri-fields to negate your mobility, all the better, since you can catch those level 0s with your level 1 combo. Either way, be sure to leave some easy pickings for your Ereshkigals, but if you can't, that's no big deal. The combo is icing on the cake, so even hitting 1 or 2 lanes per game is cash money. Now transitioning into level 1, this is where matchup knowledge will really come in handy. The question is, are big numbers and walls going to help you here? This is going to determine whether your game plan is to wall up with the 1-1s or try to combo out with the 1-0s. Either way, keep a smart uptick on your resources because your objective here is to prep. As you transition into the mid-game, use the Gilgamesh stock generators to your advantage. Your level 3 is very explosive, but very expensive in terms of hand size and stock. Don't tap yourself out trying to set up the perfect board. Instead, start standbying an Ishtar or 2 so you don't have to pay her cost, and get your pieces into your hand. And in your prep for the endgame, really take advantage of how well your level 0 game holds up. Use your drop searchers, Akatsuki coin flips, and different brainstorms to put what you need into your hand. If it's the do or die turn, your clock searching Ereshkigals can also grab your finishers. Now let's talk endgame. If you want to go up with 2 Ishtars and you have none on the board, you'll need at least 6 stock and 4 cards in your hand plus the climax, and this won't let you play another level 3. Standbying an Ishtar or 2 lowers this cost immensely and makes multiple combo activations a lot more viable. If you're low on stock and resources though, your level 3 Gilgamesh can search out an Ishtar for you and give you a nice finishing turn in a pinch. But Gilgamesh can change into other things, namely more Ishtars or your early play that digs for your climax. Though in general, playing smart and taking advantage of how much standby can dominate the stage without spending stock or hand will give you an explosive and punishing finish. Alright players, that's where I'm going to call it for now. The Babylonia standby deck has a lot of cool interactions, strong cards, and fun flavor to enjoy, so I definitely encourage all of you players at home to try it out. And if this acts as a gateway into the Fate series for you, I'd highly recommend watching Fate Grand Order Babylonia Absolute Demonic Front, though I don't know if I'd recommend Fate Grand Order the mobile game, unless you're super masochistic, have deep pockets, and love suffering through the gacha for waifus. Either way, I'll see you in the Throne of Heroes. And as always, thanks for watching. Peace.